All right, Kristen has assured me that now we're being recorded and live streamed to YouTube for the on the YouTube channel to watch. If anybody wants a copy, they can go to it after. So we'll call the meeting to order of the Economic Development Committee at 7:07 on January 20th, 2021. We'll begin the meeting with a few standard remarks. Business part of the agenda. The committee members have your camera on. Will you go through the business parts? Just the committee members at the start. We'll confirm the agenda. So I've called the meeting to order. So I need a confirmation of the agenda from a committee member. Oh, there you all are at the top. Isn't that amazing? Can I have a motion to accept the agenda as distributed? Michelle Chessel, seconded by Coralie Foster. All in favor? Carried. Does anybody have any pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Well, confirmation of the adoption of the minutes from November 18th, 2020. Can I have a motion for that? Selena Quast, seconded by Paul Wetlaufer. All in favor? Carried. Any business arising from that? Nope. Thank you. So then one thing we have is 6.1 is a letter from Ted Crawford. He advised us at the last meeting he would be resigning. When I introduce you all, I guess I'll introduce Ted first because he's not here anymore. I think Ted served on the committee for 6 years. He's moving, I think yesterday he moved to Goderich, north of Goderich. He also ran for council twice and didn't make it in, but always stayed on the committee. So I will go here to the welcoming of everybody else, and I'm going to introduce myself, Doug Eit, from the Deputy Mayor and the Chair of the Committee, and then I'll introduce the other members. Michelle Chessel, you can put your hand up. Coralie Foster, Christina Hotz. Nathan Marshall's not on here. He's a member of our committee. Selena Quast, Paul Wetlaufer, and Steve Walcom, who sent his regrets he wasn't able to come on. So now we'll introduce the mayor, Walter McKenzie, who's going to take his part.
Hey, thank you, Doug. First of all, want to thank you for inviting me to be part of your virtual meeting here tonight. Certainly it's not going to be the same as our annual breakfast, but I'm certain that it'll be informative just the same. I would like to thank the members of the Economic Development Committee for taking the time to serve on this important West Perth committee. I would like to acknowledge Ted Crawford, as Doug has mentioned, who served on this committee for a number of years and has left Mitchell now to move to Goderich. To say the least, it's been a very different and challenging year as we've all learned to adapt and carry on business largely from our homes and on our computer. Through all this, West Perth has continued to grow and prosper, and I thank you for that. I would also like to acknowledge the help of the Perth County Economic and Development staff who have aided and been a tremendous help with the various programs that they have implemented. I would also like to thank Jeff and his West Perth staff for putting the economic newsletter together. It certainly is a very informative and well-assembled document, and I think it's something that we can be very proud of. I do not want to steal anything from any of our speakers tonight, but I would like to make some comments if I could. We are seeing we're seeing a very large growth in our housing market with a number of subdivision and projects on the go, and work is continuing on our Heron Business Park. The Henry Street Bridge and a new fire hall were both completed this year after years of planning, and another major development is the redevelopment or the addition onto the Ritz Lutheran Villa, and certainly is going to be a much needed boon for this community. While all this growth is exciting, it certainly was disappointing to learn of the impending closure of Continental, or the former Cooper Standard. In closing, I do want to congratulate and thank you for a successful year. I wish you all the best in the upcoming year as we hopefully see the end of the pandemic and return to a more normal and economic stabilized future for all of West Perth. And I would like to introduce a number of members from West Perth Council that are on here tonight. And we do have Sherry Bell, Councillor Sherry Bell. We have Councillor Jeff Marshall, Councillor Steve Harold, and Councillor Dean Trinkowski. And I think that has everybody that, and Deputy Mayor Doug Ide, of course. Yes, can't forget Doug. At this time, I would like to introduce John Nader, who is a former member of our council, and ask John to say a few words. John?
Thank you, Mayor McKenzie. It is nice to be here, and I think would echo the sentiment of Mayor McKenzie. It would be nice to have been able to gather in person at the annual breakfast, which we've done, which I've done at least for probably about 8 years now in the past number of years, and it's always an enjoyable experience. And hearing about some of the opportunities and undertakings of council, of the community, of the business community, but obviously that's not in the cards right now. And I know we're all looking forward to that time when we can once again gather in person. But obviously right now the number one priority has to be to get over the public health challenges we're facing, and get back to a time where we can knock COVID to the ground and come out of it out the other end. I think from a business and an economic development standpoint, I think if you were to look at a calendar and circle the absolute worst time for this pandemic to have started, I don't think you could get any worse time than March of last year, when a lot of business were coming off of a negative winter, going into a spring and summer season where there was a lot of hope and optimism, and then obviously not being able to do that. But that being said, as Walter mentioned, a number of projects that have been undertaken in our community here, but also a lot of businesses really going above and beyond what might be expected of them to really address the concerns of the public health emergency and changing the way they do business to keep things going. On our main street, we look at some of the businesses going above and beyond, curbside delivery, pickup, you name it, changing how they do business. From a forward-looking standpoint, there are, I'm going to be very brief at this point, but there are a number of government programs out there to assist businesses, to assist communities. I think they're fairly well publicized, so please continue to share that among people you might think would benefit from that. But I would also ask as well, if you know of people who are falling through the cracks with these government support programs for businesses or for individuals, please encourage them to reach out to my office so that we can try to assist them as best as possible. Often, unless people tell us, we don't know the challenges they're facing in terms of accessing some of these programs. So sometimes we can help make a linkage there as well. So with that, I think I'll wrap up my comments. But again, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to hearing the presentations tonight, and I wish you well for the months and the year to come. And I look forward that hopefully perhaps by next fall, when we normally have the breakfast, we could do so once again in person. So again, enjoy the evening tonight, and I look forward to the presentations. Thanks so much.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. We also have Randy Pettipies, our MP, PP here tonight. And there's Randy, yes. And Randy is also a former council member. He was on North Perth Council, but we won't hold that against him. So Randy, on that note, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Mayor McKenzie. And I think, if I lived closer to you guys, I'd have certainly been on your council too. So, but anyways, yes, I was a councillor for a number of terms before I got into this business. And maybe I wish I was a councillor now instead of being in this business with what's going on with the COVID. It certainly has been challenging times for everybody for the past year or almost a year now with this virus. It is not going away. We're seeing greater issues certainly in the riding. I think we've had a number of nursing home outbreaks which are very serious in Arthur and Listowel. So anyways, that's been well publicized, and certainly I want to thank all those healthcare workers and people who jumped in from Listowel Hospital and other hospitals, staff and members who jumped in trying to help with the situations at these nursing homes that have become so devastated by this bug. I'm going to start with the bad news first, and then I'll get into the good news. I don't know whether you know this or not, but the Avon-Maitland District School Board kids that are not going back to school Monday. Yes, Christina, I know many parents would offer the same sentiments. There are a number of school boards that are going to be able to open, but most of them in southwestern Ontario and southern Ontario are not going to be able to reopen because of the persistence of the virus, and certainly there has been an uptick in the number of virus cases with school-aged children. So the powers that be decided not to open on Monday, which is really too bad. I do know that we're going to face some challenges with children not being able to go to school, other than the learning part of it, certainly the social end of it. Hopefully not too many mental health issues, but I know we're going to be facing them. For the good news part of my presentation, we do have some supports for businesses that I hope those who think they need it, please go on ontario.ca/COVID support. This is a monies that are available for property tax and energy bill rebates. Also, there's a $10,000 to $20,000 grant that businesses could get. And also there's what they call a Main Street Relief Grant, which up to $1,000 for personal protection equipment. So these are available right now. And so go on that website, ontario.ca/COVID support. If you think you would qualify. You have to have a CRA number, and so have that with you if you decide to apply for these programs. As Mayor McKenzie was saying, businesses, especially the building businesses industry, have done pretty well. Subdivisions are still being built. There's infrastructure is still being done, or was done in the fall. There was quite a bit of work on that, certainly here in Listowel and West Perth. So there have been some good news stories here. If you are in a business that, due to the recent lockdown, certainly you can go onto the website and see if your business, if you weren't on it before, whether you'd be able to open or not. I think most of you know that it hasn't changed a lot since the last time we were shut down. There's a few differences, such as curbside pickup and internet sales, so which can help the retail business, although it's not certainly not something that we wanted to see. We want stores open so that they could do their business as normal. But anyways, I want to congratulate those of you who are involved with this committee, and certainly the staff that worked so hard to help put it together. I know that if it wasn't for my staff at my office here in Toronto, I certainly wouldn't be able to operate. And I think they are sometimes forgotten by not being thanked enough for what they do and how they help put these things together. So thank you so much for letting me say a few words tonight, and I'll be certainly interested in listening to the rest of the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Randy. Thank you, Randy and John, both. We appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to be with us here tonight. And we apologize that we're not able to give you any breakfast or any food or coffee or anything. But Deputy Mayor Wright has promised that in the future, he will buy everybody a coffee. So we have to look forward to that. So on that note, Doug, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, I hope I have some extra BIA bucks so that I'll be able to buy everybody a coffee, but I'm sure I will. I got the plug in for the BIA. So that we're gonna start the presentation part. We have 3 presentations that are 30 minutes, but they're each 10 minutes. So don't just cut me off right now. 3 10-minute presentations. On the bottom of your screen, anybody who's familiar, when you move your mouse, there's a chat box at the bottom. If you'd like to, I'll be able to read it, or if you just want to mention something about that presentation, we can keep it till the end, and then we'll have an open forum at the end, or you can write a question down and we'll all stay on at the end. Because if you have a question, just put your hand up and we'll get you. I think that's about all. Our first speaker needs no introduction. Jeff Brick, the CAO of the Municipality of West Perth. He's obviously sharing his screen, which means I don't know who you can see. I can only see myself. So Jeff, you're first up.
There. Thank you. Sorry about that. It's my first time on Zoom, if you believe that. So thanks very much, everyone. And I should really, yeah, the couple things here. Start video. Good. All right. Thank you. I hope everyone can see my screen, and I'll burn through this presentation. I'm going to really say just a few words about the committee first. The Economic Development Committee provides advice to West Perth Council. We meet 5 times a year, and we do host the annual breakfast, which is a really good reason to get together. So in lieu of the annual breakfast this year, the committee produced a 2020 year in review type newsletter. We tried not to say the word COVID too many times in the newsletter. In fact, it's very rarely stated because we really tried to work through a number of projects despite the disadvantages and the challenges of COVID. This newsletter was mailed to all the businesses who would normally receive the invitation for the breakfast. It was promoted through West Perth social media. And I just want to mention that if any of you would like a few copies of the newsletter mailed to your business or to your home, or if you have someone you'd like to get the newsletter for to send to them, if you would like the digital copy or you'd like a mailed paper copy, we certainly have extras that we can send out, and we'd like to get them out and circulating as much as we can. On the newsletter, it provides very detailed information about West Perth and Perth County projects. And the newsletter, again, can be mailed by contacting or obtained by contacting Kristen Drost, who is the executive assistant here that helps this committee out, and certainly would be happy to get that out. Now, I'm going to spend a few minutes. I'm really going to just hit a couple of the high points from the newsletter, and I'm going to really go through this in a hurry and try to save time for the question and answer at the end. But I do want to say when council speaks about conversations with business, and when the Economic Development Committee discusses challenges in the community or needs in the community, there are some common themes that often come up. And one of them is the need for employees, all employees, especially skilled employees, but really all employees. The importance of youth retention and attraction and reattraction, the importance of transportation and moving people around in our community and between our communities, and the importance of having a variety of housing. And all of these themes really, I think, challenge us as a municipality to be a community builder, to build a community that people want to come to West Perth to live, work, and play and enjoy our community and have a life here. So on the need for employees, there is, as I said, a struggle. We really rely very heavily on our work with the county on economic development opportunity research at a very high level. And certainly I work closely with Justin and Justin's staff at the county, Meredith when Meredith is not off on leave, and Sarah in terms of making connections with potential economic development opportunities. And West Perth is a very easy place to promote. And we're really proud of what we have here in terms of services and opportunities. Now, and I do just want to say a little bit about, you'll notice the municipality really putting a lot of effort into areas around recreation, improvements to Ketterson Park that we're continuing to pursue. And really a lot of this is about building the kind of community that will attract people. So it goes hand in hand with that, having the housing choices, having the jobs here, and building the kind of community that people are wanting to call home, and creating opportunities for our youth that we actually can keep them in our community and they don't have to leave for other opportunities if there's opportunities here. On the housing side, very quickly, we are working very hard on trying to make sure we've got a good availability of housing and a good variety of housing. And it's easy to get kind of attracted to the concept of single family homes, but we want to have a good mix of housing stock so that there are different choices for people in different life stages and in different economic conditions. And so the current mix we have right now has a good mix of single family residential. Semis, rows are coming. We've got some rows coming. We really would like to get some apartments, and we've got a project underway to get apartments. We have 12 active housing development projects underway now, and the newsletter actually included a map that showed the location of those 12 projects. If you were part of our breakfast last year, we had 11. We've added one, and actually I anticipate we'll be adding a couple of new projects in the next year that we're very excited about that'll add additional stock. The housing numbers are in the newsletter in terms of the kind of the development names and the number of units and the type of units that are being proposed. We're very excited about seeing more semis. We've got a project that actually just started up this week, and I don't have a photo, but the project that is called Mitchell Woods. It's 23 semi-detached lots for 46 units. They began to move earth this week, and certainly it's a bit of a bit of a nuisance for the neighborhood when that work gets going, but we're hoping that we'll get through that fairly quickly and get to servicing. I was around today and got some pictures. This is B&S Scott, East Haven. This is the sign for Upper Thames Village with a familiar face on it. And this is our newest one, which I believe they're calling Riverside, which on your list of projects is number 12 at St. George Street, a corner of St. George Street and Henry Street. So on the housing side, we're working hard on trying to make sure that we've got units available, and we do see an uptick in housing starts coming for West Perth. I want to quickly mention another project. The Heron Business Park is a 59-acre industrial assembled land that the municipality owns in the southeast corner of Mitchell. The business park, we've got parcels on the north and south side of Frank Street. We're working on servicing this land. We want to mention that we were able to sell one, it's about 4.8 acre parcel, the green strip on the east, or the west side of this 10-acre parcel was sold to Hogslat Incorporated, and they have built their building and they are occupying it now. I don't believe they're up and running fully, but they certainly have it occupied. The Heron Business Park now, the rest of the park, because of stormwater management, we've got to get a stormwater management facility in, and we need to install sanitary services and water services. We want to install a small road, and the concept behind the part of the Heron Business Park that is north of Frank Street is that we would create small industrial lots that support opportunities for businesses that would like a 1.5 to 2.5 or 3 acre lot. And if they've had real good success in a farm kind of environment, an incubator kind of environment, that they have that opportunity to move that business into Mitchell on a service lot if they wish to. And that's the concept that we're trying to promote. And the one thing that we're working on right now that is holding us up a little bit is we want to put in a joint stormwater management pond down at the far east end. We're working with Cargill Limited, who are the owner of 58 acres right adjacent to us. And that pond is a mutual benefit to both us and Cargill Limited. And we're working with them and negotiating how we can make this arrangement work. And also we're in detailed design phase for the stormwater pond, which will serve a broad area. So that's the status of Heron. Very quickly on Mitchell, downtown Mitchell, I've got the downtown Mitchell logo on here. There were a number of highlights in our newsletter about downtown Mitchell, and lots of progress going on in downtown Mitchell. We still have pretty good low vacancy rate, which is a good thing. And we have through Trish McNaughton, our BIA coordinator, and through the BIA board, provided quite a bit of support this year to businesses as they adapt and pivot to COVID. And a lot of that support came out of the county as well. And I'll leave it to the county to discuss that in their presentation. And then finally, I just want to mention a few municipal highlights, and Walter and Doug have both mentioned some of these, but the newsletter talks about the Enbridge proposal to bring natural gas to Moncton, which is in the application stage. We're putting an EV charge station in downtown Mitchell in cooperation with Earth. That project actually, they're digging that today. It's at the southwest corner of the intersection of Ontario Road and St. David Street, and they'll take up 2 parking spaces there. So nice proximity to the downtown. We've got, we have recently completed substantially completed the West Perth Fire Hall project, and we've got the fire trucks relocated into the hall. They answered a call from the fire hall yesterday, and you'll probably see an article in the newspaper this week with some pictures, because we have to do everything virtually, and we can't do an open house just yet. And of course, the Henry Street Bridge was completed, and there's many, many other projects to mention. I'm only touching the surface. I do want to just quickly note a couple of others from today, and then I'm going to turn it over to the next presenter. But Perth Care for Kids did an expansion out at Francis Street. This is a shot of the Blue Heron Estates condominium project, which has got its first stage of servicing in across from Tim Hortons at 230 Ontario Road. This is the charging station construction that was underway today, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention the West Perth Village project with Ritz, which is going to put 128 Class A beds in our community, which is a tremendous investment for West Perth and area. The municipality was asked to support that project and certainly stepped up and supported it in a guarantor kind of fashion, which was a good partnership to make sure the project was completed. And that project's under construction. So with that, Mayor, or Deputy Mayor Ait, or Chair of the committee, I'll turn the screen back over again and allow one of the next presenters to do the screen share. And I'm not sure if there's any questions in the chat. We'll take questions at the end.
I don't see any questions in the chat because I'm looking at it. So I'm supposed to thank Jeff. You should see, I'll give it to you as if you want later what he wrote me to say about him. He is doing a good job. We are doing a good job as a municipality. And there was no questions till the end for him, I hope. So our next presentation is from Perth County, Sarah Franklin, who's there, the Economic Development Communications Officer, and Justin Diaz, the Manager of Economic Development and Tourism, and they jump all over the screen. So I'll hand it off to them and they can do their presentation next.
Great. Thank you, Doug. So I'm going to kick things off for the presentation, and then I'll be turning it over to Justin. So I just want to thank you all for taking the time to join us tonight. Economic development is certainly a topic, a hot topic, especially during a pandemic. And I bring this slide up just as a bit of education. I know many of you are well aware of what we do, but we like to educate wherever possible. And our department's quite busy, and we touch on a number of different components in the community. So everything from business retention and expansion, promotion and marketing, foreign direct investment efforts. I know Jeff mentioned how we often are working with West Perth to funnel inquiries for properties such as the Heron Business Park. We usually undertake some workforce development, community development. Tourism, of course, is a big component. We also have corporate communications under our belts, and more recently, the community transit project, which you're going to hear more from Maggie on in a little bit. So this is our team, and actually we do have most of us on the line today. Meredith is currently off on maternity leave until the fall of 2021, but Justin Diaz has joined our team in her place. There's myself, Ashley Rocklebank, our tourism coordinator, and Maggie Martin, our transportation project manager. So 2021 has really been deemed, or 2020, pardon me, has been deemed the year of the pivot. And our goal, as always, has been to remain in touch with the business community. And we usually like to speak of the work that we do. We are the connectors, and we work to provide support to our business community in any way possible. And this year was no different. We tried to listen as best we could to the challenges that businesses were experiencing. And this took the form of a number of surveys early on. We also have carried out a number of initiatives and resources to support the business community, and that includes marketing campaigns, training programs, as well as business outreach. And with the pivot, we've kept as busy as ever, and we're constantly trying to evolve our work plan to accommodate new stages as we roll through this and look towards recovery, hopefully toward the end of 2021. We do have some exciting projects on deck as well, and Justin's going to speak to that. So I guess I will turn it over to him. But just one thing before I do, I will say, one of the things that we have seen throughout 2020 has been really quite a bit of resilience amongst our businesses. And we know we're not through this yet, but certainly working with the business community, everybody has worked really hard to adapt and pivot their work plans just the same as we have. And it has been really inspiring to see the community come together to support one another. So with that, I'll move it to the next slide, and Justin can talk a little bit about some of our initiatives.
Great. Well, thank you, Sarah, for the introduction, and thank you to the committee for giving us this opportunity to both share an update within the newsletter, as well as tonight. It would have been nice to have breakfast with you all, but I look forward to a day soon where we can do that. So just kind of building on what Sarah has talked about, we did pivot quite quickly, and I joined the team at the end of May, so right kind of still mid-pandemic at this point, I guess. And one of the things that we were really proud of is the way that we did as a department quickly adapt and provide supports to businesses in a very uncertain time. So we've shared here really just a sampling of all the work that we've done over the last year, as well as some of the projects we've got planned for 2021, just to give a sense of some of the things that we've done and some of the kind of nature of the project we've done. The ways that we've tried to support businesses as best we could during this time. And then also when we move to 2021, some of the projects that we're looking forward to rolling out and really helping to kickstart a recovery in 2021. So I'll just maybe speak to a few of these. Actually, Sarah, if you can advance back to that last slide, sorry. So we do, as Sarah said, we are the connectors. We provide resources. We are, we're tuned into those programs being offered by the province and the federal government, and helping to share that information to businesses through our various social media channels and our newsletters and our own websites. So just a couple of things I'd like to highlight from this slide. There are a number of surveys that Sarah mentioned we had done early on in the pandemic to understand business needs. And actually since then, we had debated whether we would do another survey, but we actually, in December, we had done some phone calls with businesses to find out what's currently on their mind in a bit of a more personal way, an opportunity to connect one-on-one and provide support directly. So that was a very informative exercise that we did in the interim, and we likely will be doing a survey once we are out of the current lockdown and really understand more broadly in the community what is going on. So there's a couple of highlights of things that we've done during the pandemic to support businesses. I'll really just touch on a couple of these, one being the Perth County podcast, which hopefully you may have heard. Sarah is our podcast host and had an opportunity to interview some other members who are also on this call. I believe our MPP and MP, perhaps, and a few others who provide information about, in a really quick and easy to listen format. There was I think one of the challenges businesses faced during the early part of the pandemic, especially, was just a fire hose of information coming towards them, and our podcast hopefully provided a convenient way for them to get some information, while they're on their way somewhere or in the car. So that was something we're really proud of in 2020, having launched that podcast and delivered 18 episodes. And also, maybe I'll also just touch on a roundtable that we had with Minister Ernie Hardeman earlier on in the pandemic, when the agriculture community was feeling a particular amount of strain, and that was an opportunity for us to share some information directly with the minister. So that was an opportunity that MPP Pettipies was very critical in helping to put together, and was helpful for them to hear that the government was listening at that time when they were really struggling. Sarah, if you can advance the slide, please. In terms of our marketing and outreach, so we have very robust social media platforms and are really tuned into the business community, providing information to them. I might highlight here that we were very lucky to receive a grant from FedDev through the Tourism Industry Association of Ontario, kind of near the in the fall of the summer of 2020, which allowed us to do a lot of programming. That regional relief and recovery program funding allowed us to really do some things that we maybe wouldn't have otherwise been able to do with that funding, and provide that support to businesses. So again, there's a number of activities that we've listed here, both in the newsletter and on the screen here. A couple I might just like to speak to that we're really particularly proud of. Our Chalk It Up campaign, which we had done in the latter part of the summer when there was some reopening happening, and there was it was really a community building exercise that we undertook to help businesses share that message of we're all in this together, we're open, we're here, thanking frontline workers. So it was something that was really it had that ability to bring the community together and provide some community spirit when we really needed it. We were very strong on a number of different video campaigns that we launched supporting things that were open during the summer. So our tourism officer Ashley and her summer students offered some profiles on the golf courses, campsites, trails in Perth County. So really trying to keep people's spirits high when they were otherwise not able to do some of the things they would normally have done, and promote those opportunities to get out and about in Perth County. And while they were doing so, to support those businesses that were open to provide that local spending as well. And then I might just touch on lastly our, before the holidays, we did have a number of campaigns related to shop locals that aren't on the slide here, but I might just highlight one of them that was particularly well received was our Take the Pledge campaign, an opportunity for business or for individuals, I should say, to pledge to spend 70% of their holiday shopping locally, and we had a tremendous uptake on that. So really a positive campaign that had an economic impact with businesses, or an individual, I should say, patronizing local businesses during the holidays as opposed to shopping online through a number of big box and online retailers. So just a couple of highlights I'd like to draw on that. Sarah, if you don't mind advancing the slide. And I'll move quickly just through our 2020 program, or 2021, I should say. Really exciting things to come. PC Connect, you'll hear from Maggie Martin after this about the really tremendous growth in that service in the short period of time that we were able to operate thus far. Our Tourism Recovery Fund, the Tourism Adaptation Fund, being offered now through RTO4, providing some assistance to businesses who are looking to adapt their business physically in a way to really keep going throughout COVID and continue to offer servicing. Our Digital Service Squad. So I know we've connected with a number of businesses in West Perth through Clara Leaney, who's our Digital Service Squad provider. Again, this is through a grant we were able to receive through OBIA and the Digital Main Street through the Government of Ontario, Tabia and the Government of Canada. And really this has been instrumental, as Sarah's highlighted and as Jeff has as well. Businesses were tremendous in pivoting and finding ways to do business online. And our free Digital Service Squad has been a really good support to help them do that. We do have Clara, our Digital Service Squad member, available to support businesses until the end of February. So if there are any businesses either on the line, or if you know somebody who hasn't yet had a chance to take advantage of reaching out to Clara, please do so, because she can provide support in terms of helping your business set up an e-commerce channel, helping to boost your social media, helping with some strategy if that's something you're interested in, and connect you with other supports through Digital Main Street Ontario. So a really valuable service that we can provide during this time to support businesses. And then maybe just finally, I'll touch on our Farmgate map, which is being relaunched this year. So this was also through our grant through TAIO and FedDev. We were able to do a lot of the work on this program to help relaunch this farm gate map that has been successful. It has won us some awards in the past, but now an opportunity to really expand that throughout the county. So just a couple of initiatives that we're looking forward to 2020. I might just also mention a couple of other briefly. We have a couple of red projects through AMAFRA that we're implementing in 2021, including a workforce attraction piece, which Jeff had mentioned. Workforce is obviously a challenge in West Perth as well as throughout the county. So we're excited to get that program off the ground. And then a certified experience program. We know hyperlocal tourism is going to be a big draw in 2021. So through our tourism officer, Ashley Brockbank, will be offering a certified experience program with some details rolling out over the next few weeks and months on that. And I might leave it at that and welcome any questions either, I guess, whenever we get to that point. Thank you.
I guess I'll come back up, and you've heard her name mentioned many times. Justin, you better open that door behind you, whoever's kicking it. The next person up is Maggie Martin, and she's the transit project coordinator, and there she is. She'll do her presentation.
Great, thank you. I think I'm all set up here. Hopefully everyone can see my presentation. Okay. Not seeing any no's, so I will proceed. So good evening, everyone. My name is Maggie Martin, and I'm the Transit Project Coordinator for Perth County's all-new PC Connect bus service. So I'm thrilled to be here with you all virtually this evening, sharing information on how we're delivering much-needed public transit to the community and removing the affordable transportation barrier that many of our Perth County residents face today. So for those of you who are not as familiar with the initiative, PC Connect is your all-new community bus service that's been designed to provide residents with access to an affordable and alternative method of transportation in order to reach places of interest such as employment, grocery stores, healthcare, as well as recreational activities. So in partnership with the City of Stratford's Inner City Transportation Project, PC Connect is servicing 5 distinct routes that travel throughout Perth County, Stratford, St. Mary's, London, and Kitchener-Waterloo. So PC Connect is the result of the Government of Ontario's Community Transportation Grant Program. So this grant program was designed to help communities who are underserved, or in our case, unserved by public transportation. So in 2018, the county was granted $1.45 million to implement a transportation pilot program that is scheduled to run until March 31st, 2023. So in addition to Perth County's grant, the City of Stratford also received a grant of the same value to implement a separate but complementary project. So because the routes for Stratford and Perth County were so closely aligned, sharing stops, connection points, as well as passengers, we decided to introduce all 5 routes to the public under one brand, PC Connect. So the goal of our joint branding was to provide a seamless experience for residents, as well as share marketing efforts to inform and educate our residents as best as possible. So that being said, routes A and B are funded by Perth County's grant, and routes 1, 2, and 3 are being funded and managed by Stratford in partnership with St. Mary's and North Perth. So fortunately for West Perth, both of our Perth County routes A and B have stops located at the West Perth Community Centre. So the routes have been designed to travel in a circular pattern throughout the county, providing connectivity to neighboring communities throughout the county, as well as Stratford and St. Mary's. So as you can see, Route A connects Mitchell with Perth County's most northern point, Listowel, and everything in between, as well as Stratford. Route B on the right of your screen there connects Mitchell with Perth South, specifically Kirkton, as well as Stratford and St. Mary's. So both of these routes start in Stratford and make alternating trips in opposite directions in order for riders to complete a round trip as efficiently as possible. So our initial feasibility studies indicated that residents would be interested in leveraging public transportation to get to work. So our schedules have been designed to allow residents to do so. So in order to accommodate for a standard 8-hour work shift, the schedules have been designed to start early enough for riders to meet the average shift start time. And we've also incorporated service breaks midday in order to get residents home at the end of their workday. So please note that the schedules displayed here are subject to change based on operational data and feedback. However, I just wanted to highlight a few traveling scenarios with our schedules as they stand today. So for example, on Route B here to the right of the screen, residents of Stratford and St. Mary's can get into Mitchell as early as 7:03 a.m. and they can hop back on the bus to return to St. Mary's at 4:34 p.m. or get back to Stratford at either 5 p.m. or 6:30 p.m. Alternatively, residents in Mitchell can get to Stratford as early as 7:30 a.m. and return as late as 6:08 p.m. So because both routes go through Mitchell, there are plenty of timing options to travel in and out of the community, which is great. So since our launch on November 16th of 2020, we'd seen a great amount of interest and ridership from residents throughout the county and surrounding areas. So in our first 6 weeks of operation, PC Connect serviced a total of 234 riders, which steadily increased and showed growth week over week. So evidently, due to COVID-19 and the provincial lockdown, we expect our ridership numbers to be down significantly in the month of January. So we are still operating. However, at this time, we are encouraging essential travel only. So we're hopeful that when the restrictions lift and it's safe to travel again, we will be able to resume our marketing and education efforts and really continue to grow this service. We're very hopeful with our initial ridership numbers, so we're really excited to be able to grow our service when it's safe to do so. So at this time, our service is being promoted as a pre-booked service, just in order to guarantee a seat at this time. So in order to book a ride on PC Connect, riders are encouraged to call the 1-800 toll-free number provided and arrive at the bus stop 5 minutes in advance. So standard fares for Perth County routes are $6 for adults and $5 for seniors and students, and they're currently being offered at 50% off until March 31st. So the inner city routes 1, 2, and 3 are higher in price due to the longer distance traveled. However, they're also being offered at 50% off at this time. So we have developed a prepaid ticketing program to offer organizations, which enables them to buy fare passes in bulk for their clients or for their employers. So at this time, public riders are only able to purchase their fare upon boarding the bus. However, we are working on finalizing both 10 ride credit packs as well as monthly ride passes that will allow riders to travel at a discounted price. So as I mentioned, PC Connect is continuing to operate through the provincial lockdown in order to provide residents with access to essential services. So in collaboration with the Huron-Perth Public Health Unit, we have identified and enforced a number of COVID-19 preventative measures, some of which include 50% reduced capacity, mandatory face coverings on board all buses, and increased sanitization practices. So at this time, all of our PC Connect communications are focused on informing residents that the service is operating for essential travel only, and we're really focused on educating riders on how to travel safely and responsibly at this time. So we are dedicated to continuously improving the PC Connect service throughout the duration of our pilot project. In order to do that, we're going to be gathering as much feedback and data as possible in order to make the necessary route and schedule changes. And we also plan on introducing a more seamless rider experience by offering an online booking app. So the app that we are hoping to acquire will allow riders to book and pay online, track the bus in real time, as well as plan their extended transfers across other services in the area. So we are in the process of joining the Southwest Community Transit Association, which is made up of other grant recipients throughout Southwestern Ontario. So our participation in this association will allow us to strategically collaborate and really best position ourselves for the potential of a program expansion beyond 2023. So we're really excited about our participation in that association, and we really look forward to growing the service as much as possible. So that does conclude my presentation regarding PC Connect. For more information on the service, including routes and route maps and schedules, you can visit our website, perthcounty.ca/PCConnect, or you can certainly contact me directly using the contact information here. And I'd be happy to answer any questions at the Q&A period. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maggie. Okay, actually, and quite honestly, we had 2 chats. Did everybody read that? Randy Pettipiece, I do like the logo PC Connect. And if everybody would like to turn their pictures back on, because now we're going to the open forum. And then there was a question to Maggie from Dean Trentowski, Councillor. How will PC Connect be integrated, linked into the region of Waterloo, Ion, LRT system, Metrolinx, who we still typing in Via Rail services? Theoretically, a person should be able to land at Pearson Airport, take a train to Union Station, then westwards by rail to transfer to a bus. Maggie?
Sure, absolutely. So thank you for your question, Councillor. We actually are already integrated directly to the Waterloo LRT system. So on one of the routes that's being managed by Stratford, Route 1 and Route 2 as well, actually, they both have stops at LRT stops. So that provides a direct connection already, which is great. And additionally, with Via Rail, we're hoping to, once travel opens back up, hopefully eventually sometime soon, we're hoping to place a stop location at Via Rail in St. Mary's, which will open a lot of potential to travel across services. So it's definitely our intent to provide as much connectivity as possible. Like you said, you should definitely be able to travel all the way across Southwestern Ontario using these new services. So it's definitely top of mind. And as I said, by joining the SCT Association, we're really hopeful that that'll help us create those connections as well. So hopefully that answered your question. We do already have some connections in place, but we certainly hope to expand and add more throughout the pilot project.
Thank you, Maggie. Everybody could turn their picture back on if they'd like to, so we can see them. Now, if anybody has any questions, this is the open forum part. If anybody has any questions for any of the people who had presentations, or Walter, the mayor, Jeff Brick, myself, Sarah, even I think I did entertain a BIA question to Trish McNaughton, who always has good answers. Does anybody have any questions? Please, at least one. Somebody's got one question. Well, seeing none, I can't. Oh, there, Christina. Good. Yep.
Sorry, I'm not sure if that's completely relevant, but I do have somebody who reached out to me via the West Perth, or not West Perth, the Mitchell Life page, that asked if the town has a reason for, there's a particular piece of road that's unpaved, and they're really like wondering why it is. It's between, it's on the south side.
A little
It's by
strip
a
of land on
mailbox.
Blanchard. It's a little strip of land on Blanchard Street. I finally went on Mitchell Life, I believe. There's a mailbox on it. So no, this economic development, I don't think would be, that person could send a letter instead of being on Mitchell Life. They could send a letter.
She did send a letter in December. She has just sent a follow-up one, but I did say that if she didn't hear back from Jeff within this past month, that I would bring it up at the meeting. So
there you go, Jeff. You can either respond to it, or we can, as long as Jeff shakes his head that he got a letter from someone.
Yeah, Christina, make sure you get it to me. I don't recall seeing one, but I'll
okay. Well, she did just send a follow-up one. So if that doesn't come through in the next while, shoot me an email and I'll see if I can forward things. I just wanted to see, because I was pretty sure you would respond, and if you hadn't, I knew there must be some disconnect there. So I said I would bring it up. I have brought it up, and now you can keep going.
Sure, and we'll put that through operations. I want to mention something while I've got the mic, to say that just before I started to speak, without having my mic on, Nathan Marshall sent me an email and said something had come up and passed along his regrets. So he was feeling bad, and I meant to mention that. I was kind of what I was saying when I was muted. But
We'll mute yourself again.
yes, okay.
Does anybody have any other questions? Anything? You know, we got MP John Nader, and I think we still have MPP Randy Pettipiece. Like, I sometimes call Randy on his cell phone just to ask him a question. Is there anything? There's one in the chat box. Which one? A second question for Maggie. What is the possibility of establishing a tourist rail line from Stratford to Goderich?
Sure. Another great question. A rail line is a bit over my realm, but potential for a bus line for sure. So like I said, with the SCT, it's definitely our goal to provide as many connectivities to different community transportation programs that are currently going on. So for example, right now, we have the Huron Shores Area Transit that just launched mid-December, and they are providing service in South Huron and like Lambton Shores area. So we are placing a stop in, for example, in Kirkton, that will hopefully be able to provide a link to that service down the road. So there's definitely potential to do connections that would get people to Goderich down the road. Right now with our funding, we unfortunately don't have the funding to introduce a whole new line that operates outside of Perth County. But definitely if we could prove the potential and the support for that, it would definitely be something that would be great to look into down the road. But yeah, unfortunately at this time with our funding through the grant program, we are just operating our two routes within Perth County and Stratford and St. Mary's. However, we are hoping to connect to as many other grant recipient services as possible.
Thank you, Maggie. Any other questions? Any put their hand up, anybody? Because if not, Christina, oh, okay.
Randy, I was wondering if you could speak a little bit.
Over here.
Oh, sorry. We good? I was wondering if you could speak to the government's decision to reduce business operating hours. From a non-politician perspective, it seems like that would have more people trying to go to stores at the same time. And it's, of course, reduced business hours for small businesses that are already struggling.
Yeah, thank you. These decisions are made, you know, by the advice of our medical officer and the medical team we have in place in Toronto. I can't tell you the whole story on that. I think what they're trying to do is just reduce traffic because they were having a difficult time when they were having COVID outbreaks, tracing the sources. So I think that's one reason they've limited the time is to make it maybe a little easier if they do have an outbreak in a certain area that they can jump on it quicker. I do know that's something that the public health has mentioned to me a number of times, and they pulled in their a lot of their staff that used to be on the road to do just that very thing, is track where these bugs are coming from. They're usually introduced to a place, they just don't, they don't appear at a place by itself. So it's trying to keep control of that end of it if they can, or better control of it, is why they reduced hours. As far as people maybe flocking to a place because of that, these places are regulated by the amount of people they can have in them. And I think you might have heard that the Ministry of Labor is on a real blitz in Toronto this past weekend, and actually they were supposed to be up our way today to make sure that's being adhered to. We had 69% of these stores that they inspected on the weekend were in compliance, and that's just not good enough. So I think they're just trying to get a control of where it's coming from or how it's being transmitted, and to see if they can take some more steps to control the virus.
Thank you, Randy. We have another one from Michelle Chessel on the committee. I guess she'd be asking John or Randy, if you can read it. Is there any provincial or national assistance for a company to relocate to, say, Mitchell, where it might be less expensive to operate? I'm sure there is, but either of you could answer if there's anything in place. John?
Sure, I might start, Deputy Mayor Ait. How's this for a playful answer? Yes and no. There's nothing directly about relocation per se, but there are different funds available through something like FedDev Ontario, which would provide financing and grants potentially for business expansion, business loans, depending on the type of business. So it would depend what it is. There would be some funding opportunities available through FedDev Ontario, which is the Federal Economic Development Agency for Southern Ontario. So that would be the most likely place. One of the challenges, I think, with a lot of the business grants is that they open up and then they close relatively quickly. So for a lot of these projects, they have to be things that are ready when those grants open at that exact time. So, but happy to coordinate and make connections with anyone who might have a lead and is looking for some from some connections to be made there. The other thing is that if it's international, then there's a federal agency called called Invest in Canada, which was a spin-off from the Department of Industry. So that'd be anyone looking to invest in Canada from an international location.
Yeah, I can add to that. There are funds available. It depends on the company and all that type of thing. But like John said, we have to be careful on these things because a number of years ago, especially during the recession that we had, there were companies that didn't live up to their expectations, if I can put it that way, and left us and took that money with them. So we got to be very cautious on that type of thing. But certainly, if there's somebody that wants to relocate to Ontario from another country or from another province, whoever, we'd certainly jump in and hear the story, and certainly if it would work, we'd certainly help them out in doing that.
Just on a note of that, I think there might be some possibility of small business or business relocating from the city to the country, as a lot of residential people, I think, here are moving from Toronto to Mississauga to Kitchener to Mitchell. We've got another one here. Jeff, there was a personal one for you there. Should I read that one? No, you're good. What plan can be set up to replace the loss of jobs, find a new tenant or tenants at Continental plant? A plan that has local, provincial, and federal cooperation, using Continental as an example.
So I'll start, and perhaps Justin or Sarah would have something to add. We certainly have reached out to Continental a few times and have had an ongoing conversation. They're quite, the nature of the workforce from that shutdown. It was a slightly older workforce, and they haven't asked for a lot of assistance from the municipality. There hasn't been a lot said. We have reached out a couple of times and asked to make sure that if any connections need to be made for options for the site, or if they have any promotional information. And Sarah, we've reached out to the local plant manager and offered to support in any way we can. It's certainly on our radar in terms of the configuration of that facility. It's got very good shipping bays, nice high doors. It's got a good, it's a fairly modern setup on that shipping end, and we think it's a marketable site and a marketable building. And the hope is that they are motivated to move it and not just allow it to sit vacant. And I think that's where the messaging has been. And Sarah, is always cruising for opportunities. I don't know if you want to add more, Sarah, but that's.
Yeah, I'll just say, as sort of echo Jeff's comments, we certainly reached out to Continental immediately upon learning of their impending departure. And as Jeff said, they seem to have certainly the labor force side of things well in hand. Part of our role at the county is receiving, we're sort of a bit of a funnel for a lot of these requests for whether it's foreign direct investment or business expansion into the area. So we do receive inquiries funneled through various ministries, and we kind of keep on file available lands, available properties, vacant buildings that may be appropriate for that. So anytime we receive a request, we certainly connect with Jeff and his team and make sure that they are connected into what opportunities that are a good fit throughout the county. As Jeff said, I think the building is quite marketable, and we keep that information on file. And we always work with the businesses that are making the inquiries. And just connecting it back to Michelle's point or question about funding, that's sort of wrapped into all of the services that we provide. If we receive an inquiry, we're making sure to make the connections to the relevant ministries, finding out what the business does and why they're expanding, if there's research or innovation grants available. There's all sorts of different opportunities where a business could receive funding in a different way. That's not necessarily the form of a grant, but because as the MP and MPP noted, we do want to keep them here. But we certainly do market those properties. And I don't know if Justin has anything further he'd like to add.
Yes, sure. Thanks, Sarah and Jeff. Yes, I would just say maybe in relation to the Continental Plant and just more broadly speaking, the Heron Business Park and other lands across the county, we're always, through our FDI outreach and engaging with companies, we're always trying to build that pipeline of companies that have an interest in facilities so that we can try to match them. You know, when sites like the Continental Plant become available or other sites, or as the Heron Business Park comes online, we're always building that pipeline of companies that have an interest. So we work very closely with our provincial counterparts at OMAFA, who are providing a lot of those leads and helping provide support when we do have a live lead of a company that has interest. So that's further to what Jeff and Sarah talked about in terms of that location specifically. We're always doing that more general marketing to help match companies to sites across the county.
Thank you. There's another one there. What are the chances of getting a rough outdoor rink built someplace in Mitchell in Stacy Park or Lions Park for this winter? I'm sure that all the public parks and arenas have to be closed down, even outdoor ones, but Jeff will speak to that.
Yeah, I certainly will speak to it. We were kind of very closely tracking North Perth, looking at setting up some potential outdoor rinks early on before we had the enhanced lockdown measures. And we did a little research with North Perth, and North Perth was about a week ahead of us. And actually their advice that they came back with was, as a municipality, it wasn't a good venture for us to be, creating opportunities to bring people together in the midst of a stay-at-home order. So I completely get it that there's questions, and I think that we have to ask people to be creative about the way they exercise and utilize the outdoor sidewalks and other outdoor activities, but that bringing them to congregation points goes against the advice of public health, frankly.
In a non-COVID circumstance, to answer the next part of the question, we've had organizations do it many times. The last one was we had it on the ballpark for 2 or 3 years. Spearheaded then by Mark Moore, I believe, Roger Feltz. I hate saying names, but I know they bought a ton of stuff and they put an outdoor rink on the ballpark. We on A Diamond, they used the lights downtown on the parking lot, which ended up being a bad spot. How many years ago was that? 2 or 3 years ago. A lot of windows got smashed at JMS 5 years ago, Jeff said. But the ball diamond was one that for 2 or 3 years was used as an outdoor rink. A group of volunteers did it. It's probably hard now to get volunteers, but I mean, for example, it happens in Sebringville every year on the tennis court. They have an outdoor rink there. Again, it's volunteers that do it. It's not the municipality that does it. But yes, Christina?
So potentially, like, let's say COVID's mostly under control in a year or two, is that something that we could start like planning towards, that we could talk to the town and say, hey, can we use like the floodplain at Lions to build a rink if we could get the volunteers and the equipment, et cetera, and so forth. Is that something the municipality is open to?
Yeah,
Jeff will
so,
speak to it.
yeah, great question. Again, you know, it's an economic development committee, but the conversation of recreation comes up. And I think, I believe, my personal belief is they are directly connected. I mean, it's what you're talking about, Christina, is a part of community building, and community building supports all the things we've talked about in terms of retaining youth, attracting youth, creating, you know, a community where people want to come and have and start a family and have a job and have something to do. So outdoor rinks didn't come up in the current recreation leisure master plan, but the, you know, plans are plans. Things change. We can take feedback as we get it. We are looking at some upgrades to Ketterson Park, which is our immediate next priority. And we're working to see if we can secure a grant to do that. It's our definite top priority. And then I think we will be immediately on the heels of that, looking at what the next most important thing for the community is. Outdoor rinks have come up. They didn't come up in the plan, and they may be a very logical choice. Obviously, it's really dependent on the weather. And I think there's been a lot of disappointing winters for families trying to run an outdoor rink. But this one, even though it's been warm, has held at enough below zero that it would have worked. So I think it's something to consider for the future. Hey, Mayor, our Deputy Mayor, you're muted.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. There's lots of outdoor rinks that people have put up in Mitchell. You see them on Facebook every night, or Mitchell Life, kids out skating. So anybody else? Jeff Marshall?
Just on the
Can't hear you again. Just like it this afternoon. Put the thing right by your mouth.
I'll talk like this. Is that better? Can anybody hear me now?
No, I can't.
No. I don't know what this. It's a new headset, so I don't know if it's working at all or not. Is that better?
I can hear you. It's a new headset.
Yeah. John Nader and I were involved with the last rink that was put up in the was now the parking lot. It was the grass then, but really it was not a very expensive project. It was far more of the time and effort put in than that. I think the municipality gave us. John, do you remember how much it was? $1,000?
No, actually, in the end, we didn't get any money from the municipality. We were able to get it all from service clubs, and a few businesses donate time and material. So it was actually quite cheap. The most expensive thing was going to Country Depot to get the tarp and the plastic for the bottom. But I'm sure the owner there still gave us a good deal on that. But I would say as well, I believe, unless it's changed, the ice resurfacer that we used was made by my father. I think it's still hanging up in the closet somewhere at the Friendship Center there. So, I mean, it's still there for use if anyone wants to undertake the project. But it's certainly the volunteer time that takes took the most work that last time around, and the few windows that got smashed, unfortunately.
And that was one or two individuals who were just looking to cause trouble, I think, but that happens also. So.
Okay, thank you. So is there any other questions? We've been an hour and 20 minutes. We're doing really good. The breakfast usually lasts an hour and 20 minutes. We're right on schedule to get home to watch the end of the Leaf game, I guess. Is there anything? Well, seeing nothing, I guess I just want to thank everybody for coming on. It's a little different. I've been used to it for like 10 months now. So, and the counselors have, but to get some of the people who just wanted to listen and watch, and hopefully some people watch after. I have some of these books at the store. If anybody wants one to give to somebody else, I think Jeff gave me 10 and I'll pass them on to you. I do want to thank the people of West Perth, because although there's been COVID, as Jeff showed in the thing, we're still moving forward. We're still building houses. We've still got people moving here. I think we're still a good economic engine in West Perth. Like, I think we're doing good. It's all positive on my end as far as I'm concerned, being from West Perth and not having to go very far to do anything. So Thank you. And I guess I need a motion to adjourn. Selena, and seconded by Michelle. All in favor? The people that can vote, I'm sure they want to quit. So thank you very much. And we'll just wait a minute, and then Kristen will say that we're off.